and you shot a black woman to death in front of an 8-year-old child.
Babe, stop, please. Richard, listen.
That is not mine. No, sir.
Some had to be removed from council chambers.
Put your hands up! Show me your hands!
A former Texas police officer, Aaron Dean, shot and killed Atatiana Jefferson, a black citizen, through the back window of her home in 2019. As a result, the officer was convicted of manslaughter and was sentenced to 11 years and 10 months in prison. The shooting happened after police came to Jefferson's house at about 2:25. They were called by a neighbor who saw her doors open late at night. The neighbor called a number for non-emergency police to ask them to check if everything was okay at Jefferson's house.
I made the call because I thought that they were going to do what I called them to do, check on my neighbor, and they didn't do that.
Zion Carr, who was 8 years old at that time, was in the bedroom with his Aunt Jefferson when she got shot. They accidentally burned hamburgers earlier that night, so they opened the doors to let the smoke out. They stayed up late at night, playing video games. At that time, Jefferson heard the noises outside her house. The video showed an officer looking through 2 open doors. After walking around the house, he went to a window and shone a flashlight into a dark room.
Put your hands up! Show me your hands!
The police supported the officer, claiming he shot his gun because he felt threatened. Officers also helped Jefferson with medical care. Further, the police asserted that the gun was spotted in the room where Jefferson died. The prosecutor added a twist to this story, mentioning that Jefferson grabbed her gun because she heard noises outside as she felt threatened and saw a flashlight in her backyard. Moreover, the officers tried to hide their presence. This behavior went against the officers. So the defense lawyer tried resolving this query, explaining that the officers thought it might be a robbery happening, not just a check on someone's safety, so they hid their presence. He called the shooting a sad accident, but one that he believed was reasonable for someone like Dean in that situation. Many people strongly criticized the shooting,
And you shot a black woman to death in front of an 8-year-old child.
including the National Black Police Association, who said that the killings of black people by white officers had become too familiar. Dean became a police officer with the Fort Worth Police Department in April 2018 after finishing training at the Fort Worth Police Academy in March 2018.
Aaron Dean.
Investigators say Dean, seen here shortly after joining the force, never identified himself as a police officer that night.
When the shooting happened, Dean had been with the department for about 18 months. Before the shooting, the only notable thing in his police record was a report about a car accident. In 2004, Dean got a ticket from the Arlington Police Department in his hometown because of the assault by contact. During his job interview with the Fort Worth Police, they talked about this incident. Dean admitted to it, and he paid a fine. 2 days after the shooting at Jefferson, Dean quit his job as a police officer. He was then arrested and charged with murder.
We, the jury, having found the defendant, Aaron York Dean, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the offense of manslaughter.
No one could bring Jefferson back, but society came forward for her. 2 sports players, Harrison Barnes, who used to play for the Dallas Mavericks, and Malik Jackson from the Philadelphia Eagles, paid for Jefferson's funeral. The family's lawyer also set up a GoFundMe page to help raise money for the family. Prepare to be astonished by the next case. What happened was totally unacceptable. Euclid police officer Michael Amiot landed himself in a miserable situation by assaulting Richard Hubbard. His video went viral. He interfered with Mr. Hubbard's civil rights during a traffic stop. He wasn't arguing, but repeatedly punching Hubbard. Videos taken by cell phones and police cameras showed Officer Amiot quickly wrestling Mr. Hubbard to the ground just moments after telling him to turn away. Mr. Hubbard had just stepped out of his car.
Face away from me. Face away from me.
Officer Amiot used his knee to hit Mr. Hubbard. He punched him in the face, adding embarrassment to his physical pain.
Babe, stop, please. Richard, listen.
He was then handcuffed and taken to a police car. The city paid Mr. Hubbard $450,000 to settle a lawsuit about his violated rights. Officer Amiot had a history of doing wrong things while working as a police officer. In 2013, he had to leave the Mentor Police Department because he lied about why he stopped a driver who had a suspended license. He was hired again only a short time after that happened. In a speech that lasted almost 10 minutes in court, Amiot talked about how some evidence against him in last year's trial wasn't fair. He also said he did what he was taught when he arrested Hubbard.
Everything I did on that day was based on my training and experience.
Well, justice was served, and he was sentenced to 1 year of probation and a $1,000 fine. Finally, we will discuss the former Jackson County Sheriff's deputy, Zachary Wester, who was captured planting drugs in cars during traffic stops. As a result, he received a sentence of 12 years, 6 months, and 8 days in prison. Wester began his career as a deputy in 2015 at the Liberty County Sheriff's Office. However, he left after less than a year because of accusations of sexual misconduct. In 2016, he started working at the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Wester was arrested in 2019 for allegedly planting drugs in cars during traffic stops while he was working for the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. He was accused of 67 charges, including things like racketeering, official misconduct, fabricating the evidence, and wrongly holding people. He was guilty of 19 charges out of 67. Investigators found drugs hidden in Wester's patrol car in the summer of 2018, just before he was told to stop working. Prosecutors said these drugs were meant to be used as fake evidence by Wester during his traffic stops. Videos from body cameras also showed Wester secretly holding bags filled with what looked like drugs before searching cars that he stopped. Teresa Odom, one of the victims of Wester, told the judge that the deputy had damaged her reputation and taken away time she could have spent with her grandchild.
You've robbed me of my credibility. I've probably missed 1.5 years of my grandbaby's life because of this.
In 2018, Wester stopped her because of a broken brake light and asked if he could search her truck. She said okay. He said he found methamphetamine in her purse, but video from a camera worn by him showed him hiding a bag before he started searching. Odom vehemently denied that the drugs were hers when Wester accused her of having them.
That is not mine. No, sir.
I'm not going to ask you any
No, sir.
I'm not going to ask you any direct questions. I'm going to read you your rights first, okay?
Wester's wife, Rebecca, and others asked Judge Goodman to be kind, saying he was a good man who attended church and helped in his community. Really? Wester had been in the Jackson County Jail for the past 58 days since he was found guilty. After that, he was shifted to a state prison. And that's all for today. Hit the subscribe button to get more exciting updates.